Sorry, everyone. I'm just checking my settings. Probably edit this out, but we'll see. Um, Hello, and welcome to the second episode of the Rachel Z Project. Sorry that this next episode took so long. The first episode actually occurred prior to COVID hitting, the pandemic, as well as the crazy racial tension that is currently encompassing the globe. That is not what I'm here to talk about. I'm here to actually talk about my original story that I was going to talk about was my encounter with the TTC and me having to go to court in this horrible ordeal that ended up happening and what that kind of means and applies to you standing up for yourself and your rights in these times. Just because, you just need to be able to stand up for yourself. When you know that you have truth on your side and you're in the right, it's just important to know to stand in that and just push forward, if you know what I mean. Okay, so back to my story. Kevin and my father-in-law are out on the balcony right now, enjoying the sunshine. I am getting ready for a call, but I wanted to do this really, really quick ahead of that because I've been putting it off and procrastinating. I've been promising myself that I would actually just get it out there and do this. So I'm just getting out there and doing this. Okay, so where was I? TTC, yes. This was back when I was actually able to train people in person. I was seeing my very dear client. She'll remain unknown. She lives in the Queen Street West area. So on the way home, I decided to go down Chinatown area to pick up some free groceries. And everyone knows that any of the groceries that you get from there, you have to use that day. But I like getting avocados from there because, they're usually like, you can use them right away. So if you're going to use them, anyways, that's a different thing. But anyways, I got groceries. I got a bunch of stuff. Always getting so much more than what I intended to in the first place. Like, oh, got a couple things, and then I'm like, oh, lychees. So grab those. So, anyways, got all my stuff. I had all the grocery bags. I got onto the Spadina streetcar to head home. I had all the bags on me. My Presto card was in my backpack, in my wallet. So, anyways, I'll get to what happens next. I get on the streetcar and it's packed, of course. And I walk to the center of the streetcar and I put my bags down because I have a whole bunch of them and I'm kind of like a pack rat, just kind of like strap everything on me and I was like, go. Anyways, I put the bags down. I'm about to reach for my cell phone because I need to text Kevin, my husband, that I am on the way home. Which I always do, ETA. I always feel like PM. You appreciate an ETA. Just, something to prepare for. Just exactly. So if there's dinner, anyways, I'm going on a tangent. But anyways, as I was doing this, a man comes up to me. Ooh, little allergies. Sorry. Anyways, this man comes up to me and he says, he flashes me a badge first. Flashes me a badge. He's like, oh, hey. And I'm like looking at it, I'm like, what's happening right now? Like, I don't understand what's happening. And I was at first confused because the guy was wearing a University of Toronto's like hoodie sweater. So I just looked at him and was like, I don't understand. Okay. And he asks me, ma'am, can I please see your proof of payment? And I go, okay. I grab my Presto card, which is in my wallet, which is in my backpack. So I get all this out. I give it to him. It has not been tapped yet. And he looks at it as his little scanner thing, and he looks at me and goes, this hasn't been tapped. And he proceeds to write me a $250 ticket. So I was standing there quite indignant, I suppose. How do you pronounce that? Anyways, I was sitting there like, what's happening right now? Did you not see all the other like Asian older ladies with their little trolleys not tapping? Why did you pick me out? I don't understand. Anyways, as he's writing it, I'm being very cordial about this. I'm like, this is dumb. I'm like, is there like a way for me to fight this? He's like, yes, you can fight this in court. I'm like, in court? I'm like, very intrigued by this. Like, I don't like, like, you know, I'm going to fight this. And he's just like, okay, then you're more than welcome to. And I was like, okay, that's fine. So this whole time, well, he asked for my ID, which I guess was my mistake that I gave him my ID, whatever. Anyways, he's writing me the ticket, gives me back my ID, gives me back my Presto, whatever. I'm still on the way home. I gather up all my stuff, and then I proceed to take my card, and then I tap it. This is the key, right? Because I never intended on getting a free ride on that Spin on streetcar. It was just because I had all that crap on me. And anyways, yeah, so I tapped it just to prove a point, okay? So that kind of saved me later, because when I went to court for this, and I did go to court for this because I wasn't paying $250 in a fine for this because I didn't tap fast enough when there were other people, and I felt like I was being called out just because I looked like kind of like, oh, look, I'm blonde and cute and I don't know anything. Long story short, I went to court for this. It was actually a long process to get to court because the initial time I didn't get the notice to appear in court, and so they convicted me, and then I had to pay it, and so I had to go to court and then swear on oath that I didn't receive the notice so that I could actually get my court date. Then when I got to court, I got to plead my case to the judge. It's interesting. So the conviction from the TTC is actually a failure to comply with posted sign. So yeah, it was, what does that mean? I guess it's like the signs that say, hey, you need to have proof of payment with you at all times, which I did. So when I got to court, I brought my Presto, and I also brought a printout and a record of all the times I tapped, because it's a beautiful Presto card. It tracks you, which Kevin would say is to my detriment, but whatever. Anyways, I had record of the date and time of when the ticket was taken of me actually tapping on that ride. So it proves that I had a proof of payment on me. I just didn't tap it in time. So if they want to get $250 is worth that like delay in me actually tapping. Anyways, let's go. I had this defense ready, right? And I felt like I was like called out as well. So I was ready to like get on there and like give it. Anyways, I sat there, listened to other people's cases, and I can actually empathize with a few people. I mean, sometimes you are on those streetcars and you're trying to pay. It's confusing. The machines are broken. You ask the driver, like, hey, how do I pay? Doesn't say anything. So you're just struggling. And what I always say to people is, like, you know, if things aren't working, you got to take pictures, you got to take proof, because at the end of the day, like, people can say like, oh, it's okay if the machines don't work, they're just gonna give you a pass. Like, how are you gonna prove that? Because that was like quite a few of the cases that happened before me, which kind of made me a little nervous, because I was like, maybe that technicality is worth something, even though it doesn't seem fair. Anyways, I go up to the judge. I am about to say like, I am Rachel Zammit. Actually, sorry, before this whole thing, I go up to the prosecutor, and he says that he can make this ticket go away for me because it's not a traffic ticket, so it won't show up on my record. He can make it go away for $95. And I was like, no, I'm on the side of truth. I don't want to pay $95. And also, I have proof of why I don't deserve this ticket. So this causes him to think for a moment. And also, before me, a lot of people are taking this deal, because also people don't want to sit in like a courtroom for however long and like wait. Also, I was there on my lunch break, which I also told my coworkers and my manager at the time, like, listen, I gotta go fight this TTC ticket. And they're on my side because I explained this whole situation to them. Anyways, where was I? Okay. I'm thinking, hold on, I will edit this out. Okay, anyways, the prosecutor wanted to offer me a deal, which I said I was on the side of truth. But I'm just like making the point that a lot of people, just because of the inconvenience of it, weren't going to go through with the whole process of actually going into court, so they paid the $95 because, hey, that's a lot better than $250, right? Which is true, which also just made it seem like a money grab from this perspective, because, hey, if you were never to pay the ticket, then you were never going to get the money. So why would you pay $95 for something that you didn't deserve? Because, hey, that's a lot better than $250, right? Which is true, which also just made it seem like a money grab from this perspective, because, hey, if you were never to pay the ticket, it wasn't going to show up on your license on any kind of like really, but and I have a license, but I never use it. So I didn't anyways, that's a whole separate situation. Anyways, when I got to the prosecutor, I said I was on the side of truth and I had proof. I had to go out into the hallway with the officer who had charged me. But this time he was now in his like outfit and like his bat. He looked more like an officer as opposed to the University of Toronto sweatshirt that he was in. And he had a conversation with me in the hallway. And I think he expected for me to kind of be like a ditzy, kind of dumb, stupid girl. And I wasn't. And we had a conversation and I said, honestly, I didn't tap because I had all of these groceries and look at the size of me. And I was just trying to tell my husband that I was on the way home. I was going to tap it. It doesn't make sense for you to ticket me based on the fact that like a time limit of some sort. And he said, but he also saw the fact that I had tapped. And he's like, well, why did you tap? I'm like, to prove a point. So anyways, when I'm about to go to the judge, they basically dismiss my case. So I go up there and I'm like ready, I'm fired. I'm like ready to give my like, yeah, plead my case, I suppose. And they just dismiss it. The officer just looks at me and he gives me a little bit of like a nod. And I'm like, okay, bye. But you know what? I think I was maybe one of the only people who was let off. A lot of people had to pay the $95 lowered fine because of this. Now, the moral to the story, and I don't want to make these super long, and I'm trying to make this podcast be a little bit shorter and a little bit more succinct, keep it to 10 minutes, like in boot camp, 10 people. It's a nice round number. It's nice. But the moral of this is that you have to kind of stand in what you know is right, because sometimes the law and the things that we depend on to lead us in the direction in terms of morality and what's right and what's wrong and what's just and what justice entails sometimes becomes corrupted, or it's a matter of prejudice. And I know that we are dealing with a lot of prejudice in terms of racism, and that's kind of the highlight, but I think there's a lot of things that we judge people on at a first glance, whether it is beauty or race or gender or you're fat or obesity or you have tattoos or you have piercings or you're like lesbians or you're in a loving, like passionate relationship or you're young or you're old. All of these things are just tags. They're just elements of who you are. They aren't who you really are. And so that initial glance, that first prejudice, that first initial judgment, you have to learn to forgive people for that and get past it, because he judged me on that. And I had to go through this whole episode to prove that I was right. And you know what? I think it was worth it, because you know what? Every single time that you kind of fight through when you kind of are in the stand of justice, you actually fight for what's right instead of just sitting back and just paying the fine and then dealing with it. It becomes story later. You just, yeah, this is it. Stand up to your truth. And if there's crazy fines out there, or things that that where the law isn't quite right, or in the sense of, I'm not telling you guys to break the law, I'm just saying that sometimes it's a matter of perception. Okay? And so not to be scared, take video proof, and always believe in the fact that the truth will set you free. Oh, thank you, but not to be cheesy.